Haney Biz presents Entrepreneurs Unlimited. Here's your host, Mark Haney.
All right, welcome back. We are here. Got a special treat today. We have Chris Ewing, founder and CEO of One Inc. And he's also done a lot of other cool stuff in his life. And so we're gonna get a little bit of Chris's story and find out about One Inc. Let's talk about One Inc. to start with, Chris. What is One Inc.?
Well, we write software for the property and casualty insurance industry, and we write the core systems to run an entire insurance company. So if you started an insurance company tomorrow, it would run the entire platform from payments, underwriting, all of the CRM, all the stuff that you'd need to do to run an insurance company, essentially, yeah.
Okay, so are you a technical guy, or is that, generally, is that your strength, is the technical part?
My strength's probably I bridge the technical with the business. So in college, I really loved programming, and one of my decisions was whether or not to go and become a programmer or do business. And I ultimately decided to go to law school, which was a side tour, but
yeah. So now, we talked about the power of with at the beginning of the show, and so you've been so successful with the Sherry's Berries, and now with One Inc. and other ventures, and you're an attorney. You're obviously you're probably, and you're very technical. You're good at everything, but have you had to surround yourself with great people? And what kind of people have you surrounded yourself with?
It's a really good point and question. So One Inc. is probably the best example of it. My co-founder and partner, Tim Tyanikoff, he is a really pure technical genius type person. So he handles all of building and architecting our products and our systems. And I'm much more of a business salesperson. And one of the things that makes us work so well together is our areas of expertise really don't overlap. I mean, he kind of understands what I do, and I kind of understand what he does, but I wouldn't want to do what he does. And he wouldn't want to do what I do. So we really have our own field of strength, and it works out really good.
So you've built this software platform for insurance companies, and tell us about how that got started and what that looks like today.
Sure. So I started working with a company called Cost You Less, which was an auto insurance retailer owned by Jerry Keenan here in Sacramento, and joined it with the intention of creating what's called a managing general agency, which is essentially an insurance company, which we did, called Stonewood Insurance Services. And we built and sold Cost You Less in 2010 and Stonewood in 2012. But along the way, we realized that there was just really bad software to run those businesses. And so Jerry had this idea of, hey, why don't we build this point of sale application for Cost You Less? And I realized there was no way we were going to be able to hire the talent that we needed to really build a business, really build that level of software. So we started One Inc. as a separate business to really hire the talent that we needed. That was about 10 years ago, and then we just started building applications, and here we are.
Gotcha. And so you, when you first started it, you had that original co-founder with you, the technical guy, and so did you guys go out and have to raise money, or did you bootstrap it?
Well, we were part of a sister company to Cost You Less, and so we really were acting as a software vendor for these related affiliated companies, Cost You Less and Stonewood. And then when they were sold, we woke up one day and we had no revenue. So at that point, we had to do a financing, and we did that.
Okay. And now, how do you measure your success today? How do you know if you're winning?
Well, it's interesting. So I always try and look in a space that I'm in and say, what are the winners or what are the people that are very successful in that area doing? Because they've already kind of done it. So at Sherry's Berries, when we went looked, I looked at Godiva chocolates and said, what are they doing? And Harry and David was the real person that we were looking. Well, they're a national distributor of fruit.
Oh, yeah.
How are we going to go ahead and kind of copy that? In the software space, we do the same thing. So we look at our competitors and try and figure out what are they doing right, what do they do wrong, and how do we become them?
Yeah. And are you doing anything different than they're doing that gives you some kind of differentiation that might lead to an advantage?
Yeah, so we start down the road of saying, what are they doing? And then we try and innovate on top of that. And because they've already built kind of a platform, we say, well, how could we make it better? So at One Inc., what makes us really different is our SaaS architecture. So we're kind of like the Salesforce.com of insurance software. That as opposed to really these very large applications that are custom code. And so that's really the differentiator, is that you can implement our software to run an insurance company in a matter of months versus a matter of years. And
now,
so it's really
now
cool.
SaaS, that's software as a service, right? Okay, so and that once you build out your software, then from there you can add an unlimited number of users.
Right. So we have one set of code, and then as we add on more customers and more users, they're all using the same set of code. So when I add something for you, it goes into the main code, and everybody else has the ability to use that. So the really interesting thing about the architecture is, as time goes on, the product gets better and better and better, and is easier to implement. So it's a really great way to build a product.
So there's sort of a large upfront cost in building the software and getting it right and getting it perfected, so to speak. And then from there, it's very scalable because software, it's cloud-based type software.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of persistence. There's been a couple of times during building one of the core applications we have is called Policy One. And I think in every business I've ever been involved in, there's always that day you wake up and you go, we can't do this. What are we doing? And
yes.
There was a couple of times when we were building Policy One. It's so unbelievably complicated. I was like, "There's no way we're going to finish this thing. It's just never going to be done." And then we had a couple of breakthroughs and kept going, and finally got it done. And we're now live for the last couple of years with that product. So.
Finding a way to break through even when there's tough times. I'm here with Chris Ewing, founder and CEO of One Inc. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about how he got through these challenges, what it took, who stood by him, and we're going to get a little bit more about his Sherry's Berries experience and how he built that company and helped build that company. This is Mark Haney, Entrepreneurs Unlimited, Sports 1140, KHTK, streaming live, podcast, and YouTube at haneybiz.com. Welcome back, and we are here with Chris Ewing, co-founder and CEO of One Inc. He also co-founded the Sherry's Berries distribution business. And before we went to break, you were talking about that at all times, your entrepreneurial ventures, you end up with this moment where, are you sure we really, this is my words, maybe this isn't going to work, right? That concern that you have. And how do you battle through that, Chris?
Well, it's in every business I've been involved in, there's that morning you wake up or you don't go to sleep that night and you realize there's no way this is going to work. And it's kind of odd because when we get to that point, I now know that we're almost close to making it work.
You know you're close when you start to feel the doubt.
Yeah, and so it's kind of funny. One of the times that happened with Sherry's Berries was, Sherry had started the retail distribution stores, and so they were up and running and going. And so the next thing was the internet. How are we going to ship chocolate dipped strawberries from here to Las Vegas, have them sit on the doorstep in 115-degree weather and not melt? And we basically thought we couldn't do it. So we started working on it. And, back to Harry and David, I was like, well, how the heck do they do it? So I called up Harry and David and I said, can I talk with your packaging person? And they're like, well, we have these packaging engineers. And this is how naive I was. I didn't even know there was a thing called a packaging engineer.
Yeah. So
they sent me to that department. And they're like, well, you're a competitor. We can't tell you about that. And they then, one of the guys said, well, my wife just retired from Kraft Foods. Call her. And so we called her, and then she helped us design the packaging, and off we were going. So it was a huge breakthrough.
With somebody that had some complementary expertise, you were able to solve the packaging issue. Now, in co-founding Sherry's Berries, who was most instrumental in really launching that thing and taking that to the besides yourself, to launching that to the level that it got to eventually?
Well, clearly, Sherry is she's a brand genius. I mean, she makes unbelievable products that are great looking and clearly hit a chord in the gift area. So I really had nothing to do with actually making the packages and what they look like. I mean, I'd occasionally talk about it. I was much more really back when you talk about Tim and One Inc. She really handled the packaging and how to build the products, and I really handled the deals and the marketing and the technology. This is right when the internet was first starting, and we were one of the first gift businesses to ship over the internet. And so we had to figure out, how do we connect to FedEx? How do we make a website? How do we build this and scale it so that when we get tens of thousands of orders, we can get them out? Those sort of things. I worked on the more operational side, and she really built the packaging and the retail.
So you had people and you have Tim with complementary strengths. How about the commitment side? How do you arrive? This is advising entrepreneurs. How do you arrive at the commitment, the shared commitment to grow a company?
Well, you gotta meet somebody that has the same passion and really like what you're doing. And so Sherry loves building gifts and making people happy, and Tim loves building software. I mean, every day he just wakes up and this is what he does. When he goes home, he builds stuff. So first of all, if you got to be in an industry and doing something that you have a co-vision about and you both care about, and then getting it's like marriage. Sometimes it's hard to get the right person. And you got to go through these trials and tribulations, and it really stresses the relationship. And Tim, there's nobody in the world that's been better than him. He has, we've been through a lot over the last 10 years on how to make this thing work and how do we build through these problems. And he stood by the team and outworked me, which is unbelievable.
And what would you say to Tim right now? I mean, if he was listening, what would you say? Give us your thoughts toward Tim.
Tim's the best. I'm not the easiest person to understand, and a lot of people really don't get me. He gets me and understands me as well as anybody and knows that I'm really trying to build what's great for him and for us. And he's just my best partner and one of my best friends. Yeah, he's just awesome.
That's awesome. And our good friend Greg Van Dusen brought in a bottle of marbles here, and he says that if you have 5 or more people that guess the number of marbles in this bottle, that the average of the 5 people's guesses on the number of marbles in this bottle will be more accurate, will be closer than any one guess alone. Okay, so I have this bottle of marbles here, and we've each given a guess, and the bottle looks like a wine bottle, sort of, or a booze bottle. Probably a booze bottle if it's Greg, right? No, I'm just kidding. That's a joke. But how many marbles? As we look at this, I wanted the guests to know what was going on. You made your guess already.
Yep.
Okay, and Tom, you made a guess as well.
I have.
Okay, and Marcus, you made a guess. I made a guess, and Dan's coming up. He's going to guess, and we'll find out the average in a few minutes. But I kind of wanted to set this up for our listeners because so many times you put a group of 4, 5, 6 people together in a room, and they're so much stronger. So just as my closing thoughts to you, Dan, Chris, thank you so much for coming on the show today. And just any last words of wisdom to to us entrepreneurs out here who are trying to build businesses?
Well, since you've been talking about building a team, I think one of the absolute critical things in building a team is making sure that you surround yourself with what I call A players. And then when you occasionally get somebody who may be an A player in a different position, but not an A player in your current situation, that you make sure that you keep those people moving on and you keep the great people in. Because what happens is great people for that business really surround themselves with other great people, and it gets synergistic, and then you can build something really special.
All right. I want to thank Chris Ewing for sharing his entrepreneurial wisdom today. Coming up in the show, we have the founder and CEO of California Safe Soil, Dan Morash. This is Entrepreneurs Unlimited on Sports 1140 KHTK, streaming live, podcast, and YouTube at HaitiBiz.com. You know what? I think that today's show was pretty impactful. We talked about the power of with at the beginning, and with the right business partner, with the right people around us, we can do so much more. With the right person or team, we can get anything we want in life. We can build businesses like what Chris Ewing has built with Sherry's Berries, and now with One Inc., and then also what Dan Morash is doing. He's about to build a really significant company, and it's based right here in our region, and it's really cool. And I think as I flash back in time a little bit, thinking about why we started the Haney Biz project, and I had left my job, after selling off some of the companies and thinking about what I wanted to do in my life, and I thought about what am I passionate about, what do I know, and what am I passionate about? And I think some of the stuff is you got to surround yourself with people who know things other than what you know that can help you. And it's the power of with that is so impactful. And so I thought about what do I want to do and who would I want to be helping me with it? I thought, okay, I know what it's like to be the parent of two great kids. And one is a Marine. And I know that coaching sports is something that I've always loved. And I know I've always had some fun building businesses. And so I had some experience in some of these areas. I knew what I knew, and I knew about the power of with. I knew what that meant. I knew that 1 + 1 = 3. If you have the right people with the right crossover of commitment, with you have the right complementary strengths, shoot, anything is possible. And so I remember thinking, I care about my family, I care about my friends, and I care about my community. And so that's why we started the Allegiant Giving Project, and that's why we started the Allegiant Giving Partners. And together, the partners can do so much more. And for those of you guys that don't know what that is, it has an advertisement that we talk about, but really a group of businesses have come together, and we call them the Allegiant Giving Partners, to figure out a way to help our community. And our focus is in young people and the heroes of today. So our focus is on today's heroes and tomorrow's leaders. And together with these complementary strengths, these businesses are finding a way to change our community. And so I just want to take a minute to thank my partner businesses that are helping build this. And I think together, I think we're unstoppable. And what inspired me really was really the idea of patriotism. I grew up in this town, and my son being in the Marines, and that we could create something that was kind of a hometown patriotism, right? Where you're really committed to our community, because not everybody can go off and serve in the military. And I remember not really understanding what patriotism was until 9/11, and I don't even know that I really have a true understanding of what the word patriotism means. But I remember after 9/11, I saw the way the country kind of came together after those terrorist attacks, and how just everything was different, and how we strengthened as families, and it really as a community and as a country. And on that day, I witnessed the power of with. And I gained a better understanding of the true meaning of the word patriotism. And my nephew, AJ, joined the Marines and did a couple of tours of combat. My son, Marcus, joined the Marines. He did some time in Afghanistan. And both these guys saw combat and saw some of the terrible, horrible things in war. But I remember when Marcus was deploying, as these guys were getting ready to get on the bus to go to Afghanistan, to go to the air base to fly overseas, I remember him and his buddies, this certain bond that it's hard to explain, but the way you could tell that they were bonded together. And as they drove off on those buses together with those solemn faces and that determination to go do something important, and there I was back with the women and children. It was the most humbling experience of my life to see the real men going off to fight, while the old people and the women and children hung back. And I think at that moment, in that day, I witnessed the power of with. And on that day, I gained a better understanding of the true meaning of the word patriotism. And so he goes off to fight, and, about a month later, his wife Lauren has a baby, beautiful Hunter, and I didn't get a chance to talk to Marcus a lot while he was over there because he was busy. And but I was invested in the Allegiant Giving the Allegiant Giving Partner program and helping the heroes. I was down in San Diego, and we were helping the wounded warriors that were down in the San Diego Balboa Hospital. And I was down there with some other guys, and we were just trying to do what we can for these guys that were playing basketball, had lost both legs. And anyway, that's what the Allegiant Giving Partners is all about. And anyway, so I'm down there in San Diego in Balboa in May. Marcus leaves in mid-March. And then on June 7th, just a couple weeks after I was down at Balboa, I get a call, and it's Marcus in the middle of the night. My wife and I laying in bed in the middle of the night and turn on the phone, and it's Marcus. And he's got this, his voice is lower, and he says, hey, guys, I'm coming home. And we're like, what? Are you okay? Are you okay? And he had been shot in the leg, and he was just waking up from his first surgery. And about 3 or 4 days later, we end up, ironically, right back at Balboa Hospital.
The same place.
The same place that I had been 2 weeks earlier. And now my son is there, having been shot. And so he, after he wakes up from his, I think it was his third surgery, and I just remember this moment like it was yesterday. And I remember he was able to, his wife put his son Hunter in his arms as he was laying in the hospital bed, and the way that Marcus lit up when he held Hunter for the first time, on that day, I witnessed the power of with, and I gained a better understanding of the true meaning of the word patriotism. And so I would invite any of you to help me and the Allegiant Giving Partners come down, help do what we can do to change this world. You know what? We all do what we can do, whether you're a firefighter, a police officer, a school teacher, a high school football coach, or a guy that's providing jobs as an entrepreneur. That's hometown patriotism in my book, ladies and gentlemen. And I invite you to come down and share with the Allegiant Giving Partners what we are trying to accomplish, investing in today's heroes and tomorrow's leaders. Never above you, never below you, always by your side.